I like Xenoblade Chronicles, and I have cultivated a community of people that also like Xenoblade Chronicles for the most part, with opinions and takes on it that, well, some of them will keep you up at night, clinging to your covers in hopes that a monster will come out of your closet like Monsters Incorporated, to whisk you away to a land where these takes do not exist. Takes so horrid, so vitriolic, so painfully, dare I say, cringe, that they will have you dry heaving from the very thought of them. But for my part, I decided, what if we congregated all those bad takes together, all those putrid, abominable, horrifying, disgusting takes, all in one location, and we examined them with a fine-tooth comb. We drag them out into the light and put them to the sword, and by the sword I mean I roast them on the internet in a YouTube video. So let's get right on into this, and shockingly enough, there were some pretty dang good takes in here. And let's start off with one of those to, cleanse the soul, prepare us for the horrors to come. So we have Kirito here, saying that 3 should have more sword fights cutscenes. Thank you! Yes! I didn't know I needed that. The choreography we got with Noah and Miwa at the start was amazing. And it's sad we never really got any more sword-to-sword combat in cutscenes. I'm right there with you. We had a little bit with Noah and N in Chapter 6, but I mean, come on. That opening cutscene, well, opening quote-unquote, it was in Chapter 1, between Noah and Mia was crispy clean. Yeah, Mr. Clean could never. I'm just saying, I would be a massive fan of stuff like that. Remember the Jin and Rex fight at the end of 2? That was sick. Give me more scenes like that. Hell yeah, I'm all in favor of that. So let's move on to the next take, shall we? We have 22 here saying that Tora is my second favorite male character in the whole series behind Rex. Now, I'm a fan of Tora. I've made that known before. I like the guy. Yeah, he's my favorite Nopon. Having said that, Jin, Shulk, hell, in the same game as Tora, in the same party, we got Zeke right there, Wolfric, hello, a bit of Dagas, maybe a bit of Malos. We move over to Xenoblade 3 and we got Tyon, we got Noah, we got my boy Lance, and N. Also, need I say it, Triton, who should arguably be number 1 just off of cool factor alone. But we're building up to the really bad takes, because honestly, I like Tora, so I'm not even that upset about this one. I'm just saying, we're building up into the scale. We can't just go off the deep end immediately. We've got to tease it into it, yeah? Got to tease it a little bit. So let's move into another one, and this one is by Greg. I like the core gacha in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and it actually encourages the player to understand the mechanisms, or if I could read that right, mechanics, in order to grind for more cores. And then Fishing said, and it makes each playthrough different by randomizing which blades you get early on. I just think it's a tad bit harsh on the percentages. Now, I do agree that there are some positives when it comes to the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 gacha system. And I think when you're talking about, when you take a step back and you look over the game design as a whole, how with each subsequent playthrough you can have different experiences based upon what cores or blades you unlock. And that has some value to it, I do agree. Having said that, I am not deleting my save that has all the blades unlocked, with a lot of endgame gear that I would just disappear if I wanted to do a new game with none of that. So if the game had multiple save slots, I would agree, however, it doesn't. And I'm not being bamboozled. I'm not being, to quote, SpongeBob SquarePants from the SpongeBob movie Smeckledorfed. No, au contraire, mon ami. That will not be happening on my watch. Also, I'm a bit salty about the gacha. If you want to understand why, it took me 206 hours to get Cosmos. She was the last gacha blade I could unlock. And then, in my infinite wisdom, I put her on Zeke, who I don't get until like chapter 5 or something in each playthrough. And then my Zeke, for some reason, has the durability of a wet paper bag in monsoon season. The man will fall over to a stiff breeze. Hell, a butterfly could beat its wings and Zeke would fall over into a comatose state, never to be heard from again. So I do think the randomization that the gacha system in Xenoblade 2 provides has some merits to it. Like Fishing said, I do agree with them here. The percentages are way too harsh. And I won't lie, the first blade I ever got in this game was Finch, so I'm just saying there's a little bit of a vendetta here on my end. Like, of all the ones I could have gone, you gave me Finch, really? I think the most practical utility Finch has is to be taken to KFC to be turned into a bucket meal. I think that's literally the extent of her usefulness in the game. I'm just saying, maybe that's a hot take. Maybe the hot take was the hot takes we made along the way. So let's move on to the next one. XCon says, Torna's mandatory side quest roadblock was not that bad. As a completionist, I was going to do them anyway. Plus, it kind of fleshes out the world and backstory of the Kingdom of Torna more. Now, this one just... In an initial playthrough, I kind of agree. I don't agree with mandatory locking main quest behind side quest completion at all. But I did enjoy the Torna side quest for the most part. I just don't agree with forcing the player to play a particular style in that regard. Because not everybody's a completionist, like maybe you or me. Plus, I won't lie, every time I want to do a New Game Plus or a replay through of Torna the Golden Country, the fact that to grind the community level 4 by doing the same side quest as I did before will always sting a little bit, like sticking your eyeball into a bullet ant nest. And now we move on to Dean's hot take. A take so boiling hot that Melia fans around the globe will clutch their figurines of Melia as they curl up into a fetal position in the corner as I utter these words. Massive spoilers for Xenoblade Chronicles 1. Well, I'm pretty sure I've already spoiled the other game, so let's just get into it. Melia does not deserve Shulk. Oh, the shock, the hoarder! Seriously, unless I missed something, she never even tried to flirt with or confess her feelings to Shulk before Fiora was revealed to be alive. Only then did we learn that Melia had feelings for him, and after that, the only time she even somewhat tried to confess was in the scene where Shulk and Fiora run past her while holding hands, which always, as a Melia fan, kind of hurts, but at the same time is arguably, objectively funny, which was such a half-hearted attempt. I'm sorry, but Fiora and Shulk are an objectively better match. They've been friends since childhood, clearly have a lot of chemistry, and Shulk makes it blatantly clear how much he loves her. Melia doesn't deserve Shulk just because she's had a rough life. Newsflash, almost every main character in the game has had a rough life. Why or how is Melia any different? So yeah, I really hate the poor Melia trend that Chukka Conroy started. Shots fired. Look, I have Melia as a character. I love Melia as a character, but the bottom line is Stone Cold said so. Shulk as Melia is stupid and has no valid basis whatsoever. And it is this moment I must remind people not to take all these takes too seriously. I directly asked for takes like this. It's all in good fun, and to keep it in good fun and not harass anybody. For I will bring down the hammer of Thor on all of you if I need to. Yeah, that band hammer incoming if I need to. But funnily enough, see, I asked for hard takes, and I kind of agree. Sure, it took her that long to really come to terms with the fact of with her feelings, but I'm never really big on love triangles to begin with, personally. And I think the rest of Melia's story is strong enough by itself that it doesn't really need the love triangle bit to be even more tragic for her. And it's funny because I prefer Melia as a character over Fiora, but I do agree that Shulk and Fiora are just a better match because of what happened in the story. So let's move on to a hard take I feel came as a result of a video I uploaded a few days ago, at this point maybe a week or two ago, where I stated that my biggest critique of Xenoblade Chronicles 3 was the pacing of chapters 6 and 7. And Pops here says, second half of Xenoblade Chronicles 3 isn't as bad as people make it out to be. Expectations were just too high. Personally, I'll tone down the sarcasm just a little bit for this one. Personally, it's not that expectations were too high, it's just that the pacing and style of storytelling that was being done there just completely deviated from what had been established through chapters 1 through 5 that I found really compelling, and it just kind of felt like it was rushing us to the end, with a few scenes that just felt like filler, that didn't really need to be there or to be as long as they were, like the fetch quest system. And yeah, that's kind of it. Moving on to pick, I would prefer the identity of Rex's kids other than Mio to remain unknown, a bit like the mystery around the wallet in Pulp Fiction. First of all, shout out to the Pulp Fiction reference there. If you want a real hard take, I thought Pulp Fiction was okay. But honestly, I'm not opposed to leaving the other kids anonymous or unknown. I know, like, one of the biggest questions I've always gotten since Xenoblade 3's come out is, who are the other two kids who are Pyra and Mythra's kids? And I've seen some people even critique Xenoblade 3's story for not addressing them. And honestly, I'm kind of in the boat of, I don't personally give a crap. I'm kind of here or there. If they want to make them actual main story characters, I'm fine with that. But if they just want to be their kids and they lived happily ever after, I'm also fine with that. It just depends upon what story they want to tell here. I don't really hope that they become protagonists later on. I'm never that big of a fan of the next generation style of storytelling. But yeah, let's move on. So far, the takes have been kind of reasonable. And then we get to this one. Dr. Monado saying Shania is secretly one of the best Xenoblade villains, not Gen and N level though, if only Senna's side story was part of the main story, and Senna got a better side story that actually, focused on Senna. And we pair this up with Jose's hot take that Shania is one of the least annoying characters in Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I had to do a double take for that one. Both of her follow Shania quests were so smooth and totally not annoying, especially when she got left behind because she couldn't keep up with the team's walking speed. Now, personally, I think Shania presents herself as an interesting villain in the world of Xenoblade 3, a world all about cycles. She's someone who managed to not get caught up in the cycle, but eventually shows that, hey, yeah, this is better than the alternative, and how not everyone's just going to agree. I think she provides some value to the overall narrative. However, at the same time, she did have to taunt the party when we're in the jail cell, and again, she's an antagonist. You're not supposed to like her, which I get. However, to me, as a villain, she's meant to be annoying, and they use that to drive her character. I'm just not big on the fact that Senna's side story is where her story kind of wraps up. So let's move on to Brayden's hot take, and I know this is going to tick some people off, and I'm going to take joy in it. Brayden, leader of the Turkins, says, I said this in the stream last night, but I don't think the Xenoblade 3 cast is really a good group of friends. Or is really a group of friends compared to previous games. That's not saying that they don't get along. I mean, Senna and Lance seem more like friends compared to everyone else. It's just like they're more working out of obligation to meet a common goal. Like the typical bad guy and hero team-up like Bowser did with Mario, or Team Rocket sometimes does with Ash and the gang. And the moments where they feel more like friends are so late in the game that you wish it lasted longer. That's why I feel very little attachment to the main cast, and why some I kinda just don't like. Cough, cough, tie on cough. And that last bit will be the real hot take here. I think there is something to be said about this take, mainly because I'm not that big of a fan of the pacing in the end of Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and that could have some effect on my feelings of the main cast overall. However, I do disagree with the idea that they don't feel like a group of friends. They just don't become friends immediately. It takes time for them to really mesh with one another and to come together. But I think after when everyone has their interlink forms, they really do feel like a group of friends. So I would push back on that take right there. Also, the Tyon take is piping hot and it hurts my soul deep down. Tyon is one of my favorite characters. I'm not going to take that one standing down. Au contraire. And now we move on to Micaiah's take. Massive Xenoblade Chronicles 3 spoilers below. Chapter 5 had almost no emotional impact on me because of the interlink system and some other elements of the game's design. I knew there was no way Mia would permanently die, or die permanently. And that's a take. That is absolutely a take. Personally, funnily enough, I was of the same mindset until I really saw her dissipate. I thought Noah would just bust out Lucky 7, we'd have a fun time saving her or something. That didn't happen. But then when she died, quote unquote, I thought, oh, okay, that's a ballsy decision. Are they really going to go with the idea that we somehow get M to swap sides and then she'll take the place of Mia in the party? I thought that's the direction they were going to go here. But for me, I still think Chapter 5 had emotional impact. It's one of my favorite scenes in all of Xenoblade. The music, just the entire section of them in the cell, and then as you just see Noah break over and over and over again. Personally, I thought it had a lot of emotional impact, so I would push back on that one. We're getting some hot takes in here today, people. We're about to have another one that's going to take a lot of people off, however, not me. Watermelon Slime says Xenoblade X has the best soundtrack in the series. I don't know if I would say best, but for me, it's woefully underrated. I love Xenoblade X's soundtrack. Uncontrollable. S-tier song. Black Tar, amazing. The Way, immaculate. I would rate The Way up there with the other Xenoblade ending themes. It's so good. The various zone themes in Xenoblade X, iconic. And I feel that the only reason X isn't really talked about in those heights is because two things. It's a different style of music, and also, it was for a game on the Wii U that I think I'm one of 7 people that actually got the thing. So while this will be a hot take to a lot of people, I'll be right there in your corner. I'm not sure if I'd say best, but it's up there for me. I love X. Now we get to one that hurts my soul. I borderline take personal offense to this one, because it feels like it's an attack on my character as a human being. Denny says that Sotola Marsh is a forgettable area. I don't really have any more hard takes other than sometimes dialogue sounded so too stilted when spoken out loud by the blessed VAs, also Rex yelling. Look, I can ignore the Rex yelling. That Sotola Marsh take is unforgivable, though, for me. Forgettable? I think it's one of the best zones ever created in video games. It's absolutely gorgeous. Daytime is kind of mid, but nighttime Sotola Marsh? Oh, it's pretty. Oh, that's artistic design done so well, in my opinion. I love it. The various waterfalls, the trees with the ethereal wisps of soul energy. emanating from them. Oh, it's gorgeous. Oh, it's pretty. I love it. I love Sotola Marsh, and I'll fight on that hill. It's one of my favorite zones in all of Xenoblade Chronicles, and I will not take this slander lying down /S. But now we need to wash the palate out from that horrific take with a little bit of truth, courtesy of Benjamin Quinn, who says that Skells are the coolest weapon in Xenoblade. I said I wanted hot takes, not correct ones. Skells are awesome. It's a giant robot. How can you not like it? Look, I would put Siren up there if I could pilot the thing. I can't though, so Skells, which I can pilot, which I can maneuver around in, who are also Transformers, who can also fly, I might add. S tier. Love them. Skells for the win, and I will fight on this hill. Monado, who? Give me a Skell. I'll take a Skell. There we go. Giant robots for the win. Armored Core 6, when? And now, we have to go back to a take that hurts my very soul, possibly my very being. Potato Archer says that I think Vandham in Xenoblade 2 is super overrated. Those who don't know, I put him in S tier for my character list. He had no development whatsoever in the time he had on screen, and while his death was shocking, it really didn't hit me emotionally because I didn't really know him that long. Everyone in the party acting like they lost a family member when it's just a dude they've known a little bit. That hurts. And then they act like Vandham changed their lives. He did mine, when all he did was give advice and teach Rex something he probably should have been taught already. Like, he's a cool guy, don't get it twisted, but if being a cool guy is all it takes to be an S tier, then Cole would be an S tier. No, the hell he wouldn't. He'd be in freaking D tier. Man's a bootleg version of of Gray from Xenoblade 3. There, I freaking said it. And if we're talking about cool characters that use dual guns in Xenoblade, Elma's right there. There, I said it. There's my hot take, because I had to counteract this take that hurt my very soul, my very being, my reason for being, actually. And honestly, I need to make an entire video about why I like Vandham so much, possibly all the Vandhams, because let's be honest, they're the best characters in each of their games, objectively speaking. But if I want to get a little bit serious here, I would argue that Vandham, being the teacher to Rex, was the perfect teacher. Rex was never trained to be a driver. He never meant to be a driver. He just somehow stumbled upon, while he's just trying to be a salvager and get money for the people of Fonset Village, one of the most powerful blades in existence became their driver and had absolutely no idea what the hell he was doing. Vandham comes along, teaches him the basics and teaches him the ropes, and instills upon him his own personal philosophy moving forward. That helps recontextualize a lot of Rex's optimism for the future to make it more usable and to contextualize a lot of the events that he'll come to know and see. Heck, he's only able to relate to Jin and not hate his guts because of Vandham's philosophy with your own war and all that. I will fight on the hill of Vandham till the day I'm gone. And now we have Jest coming in, trying to also harm me emotionally by saying that Pyra and Mythra are the most bland, dull, and uninteresting characters in the Xenoblade series, and I almost dry-heaved saying that. I'd rather be strapped to a chair and be forced to listen to 5+ hours of Grampy Bon Susu backstory than have to spend one more second with her. That hurt me. Just, I hope it was worth it, because that hurt me. Personally, emotionally. I'm gonna be listening to the Tokyo Ghoul soundtrack right after this. This hurt me. Physically, painfully. Like, sure, I can see the argument that Pyra and Mythra are kind of tropey, especially in the first half of Xenoblade 2. But for me, what makes them so charming is just how they interact with everyone else in the party. And just how they're able to help Rex learn and grow as a person, while Rex is also able to help them grow and change their overall worldview. I really like that dynamic. But still, this take hurts me. Oh, it hurts me. Miguel coming over here with, I'm not even sure if this is a hard take, because it's kind of a fact, Riku is not that useful. Now, I know there's a lot of Riku fans out there that call him a chatterpon for some reason, despite the man being, look, I'm a Tora fan, till the day I'm gone. What did Riku really do, though? When we think about it, no, think about it. What did he do? He gave Noah Lucky 7 before the game even started, helped to make Noah not a jabroni near the beginning of the game, which, I mean, yeah, he has some use there. I'm not saying that he's not useful at all, but then what does he do during the eclipse? He just says, use Lucky 7 forehead. That does not help whatsoever. He's kind of just there as Manana's emotional support no pawn, which I mean is valuable, but I'm just saying, he ain't no Tora though, yeah? I'm just saying, Tora for the win. And now the take that has perpetually haunted me ever since I beat Xenoblade 2, and I've seen so many tremendous takes that I just fundamentally disagree with. Grammar Police coming in here with the Dagger 3 to end my way of being. With the ending of Xenoblade 2 would have been better if Pyra and Mythra would have stayed dead. In my opinion, it would have ruined the ending, because it goes against everything that the story of Xenoblade 2 was trying to do. A large chunk of the theme of Xenoblade 2 was Pyra and Mythra trying to find a reason for wanting to live and to find their own self-worth and wanting to live. They wanted to die in the background throughout the entire game. They always had the perpetual fear that their very existence endangered the ones they cared about and those around them because of Torna, the Golden Country, and what happened there. So at the end of the game, when they talked to Klaus and Rex, by the way, which we'll talk about more in detail when we get to that part of the Rex analysis series, Rex, that everyone is able to instill in Klaus that, hey, we know it's been rough for you. We know it hasn't always panned out and you haven't been perfect, but thank you for giving us life. And it made everything, all the struggle for Klaus, worth it in the end. And at the very end, when Klaus was about to die because Shulk was hitting Zanza with a freaking Monado Buster for the ages, Klaus wanted to do one last thing for his daughters, who he was never able to really help out before. And in the song One Last You, they ask their father, Klaus, to give him a little bit more time on the clock to be with Rex and to be with everyone. And Klaus is able to do the only thing he's ever been able to actively do for his daughters, to do for his family. As he fades away, he's able to give them a little bit more time on the clock. That, to me, perfectly concludes the themes and story of Xenoblade 2, and I wouldn't have changed it any other way. If they had just stayed dead, that would do nothing for the theme of Xenoblade 2 for me. It would just detract from it, and it would just be a death for the sake of being an emotional death to make the ending emotional, not to make it a more cohesive or well-constructed narrative. It would just be emotion for emotion's sake, instead of being an actual integral plot of the plot of Xenoblade 2. You could argue that they go from wanting to die because they've given up hope to wanting to die to keep that hope alive. Sure, I would still say the way they went about it with bringing them back was the perfect send-off for all their characters, especially Klaus. Now, my soul and emotional well-being needs to recover after all those hot takes, so I'm going to leave the video off there for the day. But we had so many opinions, so many hot takes that I wasn't able to get to them all. So next week, we will probably be revisiting some of the other takes that I haven't been able to cover yet. And if you have any more hot takes, please leave a comment down below with your thoughts, your opinions, your own hot takes about Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And if you want to see the rest of them, I have a community post where I had everybody comment on. So thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out, helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. Stay safe, everybody. Have a great day. If you liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. Stay safe, everybody. Have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody.